welcome back to Jeff Koinange live right here at Citizen Television, The Bench. We only barely did 2 minutes and already Dr. Ekuru Aukot was on fire. That's right, Catching My Feelings. We should play that song, Catching My Feelings, as some people on Twitter are saying. But let's talk. We need to talk. That's what we do. Because the moment we stop talking, it's the moment we start fighting. Keep tweeting at Aukot, at Third Way Alliance, at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, hashtag JK Live. Before the break, Dr. Ari, I was telling you, you have no single MP in Parliament. You probably don't have any permission to enter Parliament, and you call yourself an official opposition leader. And that's not me saying this. This is the general public.
Okay, first of all, Jeff, on a very serious note, in any serious democracy in the world, there has to be alternative political voice. There has to be opposition. Even assuming the people who are fighting us for just claiming the opposition title could be right. But they may have declared themselves, to form a different government or parallel presidency. So we cannot leave Kenya's political space without an opposition. We are willing to play that opposition, and we will do it. And this is how we have done it. I mentioned to you earlier, we've participated in the budgetary estimates. I'm not aware of any political parties that have done that.
You have your numbers?
Yeah.
You have your numbers?
No, we've contributed on what the national budget should be.
Okay.
We've done that. We've contributed on how Parliament, on what Parliament should be looking for in the vetting of Cabinet Secretary, and you said we'll come to that. We have also proposed what we think is important for Kenya today, a national conversation as opposed to people sitting on a round table to want to share political power. Now, people who say that Third Way Alliance or Ekuru Aukot cannot play opposition politics, of course are talking out of ignorance. And let me take this chance perhaps to educate them on what the Constitution says. The principle of public participation is embedded in our Constitution, that anybody out there can actually propose, can participate. For example, just like we're participating in budgetary estimates, on policy making, on legislative making. That is the principle of public participation. It's confirmed in our Constitution. If any state organ does not do that, then I think they are wrong. And there are many court cases.
So sort of like the People's Assembly, is that what you're saying?
No. Jeff, let's stop being sensational. Let's be serious for the moment. More specifically, Article 119 says anyone or any Kenyan or anybody can petition Parliament on any issues, including matters of legislation. So that is playing opposition politics. We are not in government. We are participating in the civic affairs of our country, in a public discourse of our country. We are not barred from doing that. The Constitution at Article 3 says everyone has the duty and obligation to defend, respect, and uphold the Constitution.
Okay, but you know, people say, people say, the only reason why you have remained relevant is because you took part in the second election. That's the only reason. Otherwise, you'd be nowhere.
And rightfully so. I mean, you should read Justice John Mativo's judgment. I mean, I will tell you this. If it wasn't for us, I know there are some quarters in this country that actually wanted this country probably to burn down. They probably wanted a political crisis in this country. We cared so much about this country and we respected the constitution of this country. And I'll tell you this. In August, I was in the team that disagreed fundamentally and seriously with IEBC declaration of President Uhuru as president.
I remember that.
And we told them, fine, you may have declared President Uhuru the president-elect, but tell us the process under which you declared him. And I fought alongside NASA. Yeah?
Yeah.
And we won the case at the Supreme Court. And for the first time, Kenya got a lot of respectability internationally, that indeed a court in a third world country could actually annul the results of not just any other president, of a powerful president, rich, popular president.
And sitting president.
Sitting president.
Yeah.
And we celebrated that. Then listen, then we are told, go and repeat this election within the Constitution. IEBC, for lack of wisdom, only gazetted the presidency, the candidature of President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga. I said, no, wait a minute. That's wrong. That's not the Constitution. That's not what the judgment of Justice Maraga was. I went to court. And I argued successfully that I should also be included. And that argument, my petition, as many people have said, is what saved this country from going back to probably a worse situation than 2007 or 2008.
So you're taking full credit for that?
I have no apologies to make about that. And people have said to me, yes, we did the right thing. And therefore, with that, we ensured that the constitution was followed, because the order by Justice Maraga was that you repeat the election within 60 days under Article 140, Sub-Article 3. So we followed the constitution. So when people say that what was your word? You said that that's the only thing that made us famous
and relevant.
Relevant. If it was the right thing to do for this country, I make no apologies for that, because it was the
some other people also say that Jubilee paid you handsomely to be in that election.
Listen, I mean, that's a very cheap and tired argument. I mean, knowing the Kenyan mindset, if I was really paid, by now they will be telling me, they'll be telling to the world how much I was paid, how I was paid, who received that money. You remember the case of Kidero and Justice Tunoi, how they had
$2 million.
The $2 million, how they had so much information about who carried the money from a petrol station, when they met. How come they're not saying that about Ekuru Aukot? And how come that is being said just because Ekuru Aukot and Third Way Alliance Party took an independent decision? Because we are not a member of any coalition. We've never been, and will never be.
Okay. Jubilee obviously has a super majority in Parliament. However, even with NASA's numbers, they keep boycotting everything.
You know, to be honest with you, in fact, we need to look at that issue very critically. It's very sad that a person who's been given the mandate by constituents to go and represent them and make legislation refuses to participate in the affairs of Parliament. I wish these individuals who boycotted duty could actually be surcharged, because it's a betrayal. Because today, Jubilee is just passing a list of its proposed cabinet secretaries, ambassadors, just like that. There's no opposition. There's nobody giving a perspective. We are the only political party that provided to Parliament, the vetting committee, a memorandum of what we believe they must look at. For example, issues to do with suitability and capability of an individual to perform a function. National balancing, Chapter 6, corruption. We cited the Auditor General report. If you have got a cabinet secretary today who has been nominated for appointment, whose docket previously had a lot of cushion from the Auditor General report, we asked the vetting committee interrogate that individual.
Did anyone pay attention?
Oh yes, they did. I mean, in fact, we had asked for them to give us the opportunity to be able to speak about this memoranda and what we want them to look at. They said they are running out of time, but listening to the vetting, they actually picked the question directly from our memorandum. So I'm happy as a party we are making a contribution to the politics of our country. We are not going to sit on the fence and just perfect this art of lamentation, complaining about bad leadership and doing nothing about it. And that's the problem, Jeff, that many people have in this country.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And at the same time, I mean, will NASA continue boycotting everything that's in Parliament? I mean, it'll turn out to be a rubber stamp, if you will.
Well, listen, I don't want to talk about NASA, because as Ekuru Aukot and Third Way Alliance, we have got an agenda of our own that we really want Kenyans to focus on, including the 14-point agenda for national conversation. But if you want me to entertain that point for, just for the sake of your listeners and for purposes of you asking the question, I think NASA is politically dead. It's dead, and so is its leadership. His leadership has been flip-flopping. They are not even together. One time they say they'll be so on this date. One time they're denying this. I mean, they're dead. For me, they're nothing. I think they make no significant contribution to this country. I mean, look at the boycotts and all those things. But like I said, really, I'm not really bothered about NASA or Jubilee.
Okay.
I want to talk about the agenda for Kenya.
Before you do that, the swearing in that happened on the 30th of January.
Oh, Jeff, I've tried to really avoid discussing that subject. But I know you're asking it, and maybe people are expectant for me to answer this question. I think that swearing in politically killed Raila Amolo Odinga. I think, I mean, if I remember my days in law school, I think this is what we call nonsense upon stilts. It's absolute, it's nonsense, because how can you keep on propagating an illegitimacy? And I'm also surprised with you people in the media. You keep on talking about something that is of no consequence, is of no relevance, politically, legally. I mean, look, Article 3 of the Kenya Constitution says, sub-Article 2, that any attempt to form an unlawful, a parallel government is unlawful. An attempt. You want to declare yourself a president when there's already a lawfully elected president, declared so by the Supreme Court. And this is a joke. Yeah. I wish we could really focus on how do we ensure that every household in Kenya has water, Medicare, electricity. Those are the things for me I would like to talk. Not about this nonsense and jokes and political comedy or being sworn in. One time you are being sworn in as one person, and the next thing your other guy is absconding their own swearing ceremony. I mean, if you want me to entertain this conversation for the purpose of just a political comedy, I am happy to do that. But I want to warn you that there are more pressing things in this country that we must talk about.
Granted. So let's talk about the media shutdown then. You said you jokers, you put, why do we give them so much airtime on a time like that? Were you happy we were shut down then?
No, I was not happy with the shutdown. I'm actually disappointed with the fact that the media shutdown was not properly explained by Jubilee. And let me tell you this, Jeff. Article 34 of the Kenya Constitution guarantees media freedom. Granted. But in exercise of that media freedom, Article 33 says you cannot also use a freedom to propagate hate, propaganda for war, incitement, blah, blah, blah. Sure. Okay? Yeah. And if you do that, Article 24 of the Kenya Constitution says that right and freedom must be limited, shall be limited by the state. Now, I'm disappointed because Jubilee did not explain itself that which law they applied and the justification they did that. Because what Jubilee did is they used a political method as opposed to legal. Yeah, that also includes the deportation of Wakili Miguna.
Yes. Yeah. That was, in your opinion, that was illegal?
Well, not necessarily. It's an arguable case. It's an arguable case this way. There are two responses to it. Coming back to the media shutdown. If you use a forum such as the media, and I will say this to you, Jeff, there are more politicians in your media houses than politicians out there. A lot of them who subscribe to the politics of patronage, of tribalism, than playing media fairness.
Or objectivity.
I mean, that's a fact. We have to say it. And I know some of your colleagues will hate me for saying this, but that's the truth. And some of them, we know them, but I will not mention them in this show. Now, because of that objectivity, you give space and forum to somebody who says, I do not recognize this government. This presidency is illegitimate. And you use that forum to incite, to vilify. And those are the words in the Constitution, not Ekuru Aukot. To vilify, to incite. And let me break it down further for you. Politics in Kenya is very tribal. It's a fact. When I chose to run for presidency, people were laughing at me. And I think I remember even Jeff, you asking me, Ekuru, but you don't have the numbers. You're from the minority Turkana community. Because you're looking at numbers. And that's the aspect of our tribal politics. Now, and again, I say, I'm here to talk about our Third Way Alliance agenda. But let me use the opportunity of the predominant Kenyan political narrative to explain to you why even the media shutdown could have been justified. Okay? You have NASA on the one side, which, listen, let's be brutally honest, which is predominantly Luo, Kamba, perhaps, and some Luyas and some other tribes. You have Jubilee on the other hand, which is predominantly Kalenjin, Kikuyu, and other tribes. Now, when you give somebody of greater political persuasion the space to use the media to propagate politics of incitement and vilification in the Constitution, as you said in Article 3, essentially what that means, we are vilifying the tribes and the regions of either the government or the other region. That's conflictual politics. That is politics of hatred. Now, Any reasonable and responsive government will not allow that to happen. And that's why you people were shut down.
Yeah, but for 10 days, Dr. Ari, for 10 days, it was a little unfair.
No, I mean, come on. Yeah, fair. It was unfair. But do you also not admit that there are people in the media houses that are actually politically partisan, who play, politics of either ODM or NASA? Listen, I'll give you my own personal example. I'm a victim of media bias. Last year, during the presidential debate, the media propagated the narrative that the politics in Kenya is a two-horse race. They ignored all the other 6 presidential candidates. At the presidential debate, the qualification to run for presidency is prescribed in Article 138 of the Kenya Constitution. And that's why each one of us, with our deputies, were given state security, so that should any of us die, for example, the election is cancelled.
Correct.
But when it comes to giving space for anybody to articulate their views, the media says, let's talk only to NASA, let's talk to Jubilee.
Because the rest didn't matter, supposedly.
Didn't matter. So you guys are not objective, because if you are objective, you could easily apply the Media Act, the Constitution, that talks about fairness, media fairness, even Article 3, you allocate equal space to everybody. So I have suffered that, but you know what? I think it's time for us to have a honest and brutal national conversation on what ails this country. We should also talk about why the media is failing in its role as the fourth estate to educate, to change opinions, to give people the right information, not biased political opinions. That for me is a problem, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay, look, bottom line, have you been blacked out recently then? Are you getting airtime?
This is 14th day of February.
Yes.
And there's the only opposition in Kenya. I know you're laughing.
No, I'm not laughing. You're insisting
Jeff,
on that word.
No, I am, because Jeff, Jubilee was sworn in as the government of the day. Then there is the the other wing, the NASA, that say that we are also forming a parallel government. They actually swore in a president on 30th of January. I mean, we came number 2 or number 3, depending on how you want to interpret it. So we must play opposition politics. And like I told you, opposition politics is not about just membership.
Yeah, but you didn't answer my question. Are you getting airtime?
Right now I'm getting airtime and I'm happy.
Right now, yes, but before, people keep saying, where has this man been? You've gone underground, chini ya maji.
No, not true. I mean, we've done Kass FM, we've done Radio Maisha, we've done K24. We are here with you. So we've been covered. We've done KTN. So I mean, I wouldn't say that, but I think sometimes the issue is you're only invited when it is technical input. And I think for me, that's what I've seen mostly. Being invited, people look at me just as a lawyer and not necessarily as a politician with a political perspective. And that's why I get invitation, and many times I've said no. Third Way Alliance bigger than Ekuru Aukot. Yeah. Just look at right now. We are actually interviewing for a shadow cabinet.
You are?
Yes, we are.
Who have you interviewed?
Oh, Jeff, you see?
No, look, when a tree falls in the forest and you don't hear it, has it really fallen? Well, we don't hear that. Who have you? Have you called? Give me a name.
It has fallen just because you are very far from the forest doesn't mean that the tree hasn't fallen.
Okay, but give me a name. Who have you interviewed?
Oh, so many. I mean, look,
so many.
I can't even remember them all, but I can tell you, we have so far received 130 applications from Kenyans competence. And I challenge you, Jeff, you can actually pull it. And Kango, who is present in the studio, can actually even send you right now
the list of names who have applied for a cabinet position.
Shadow cabinet. I mean, we have people who have said we want to be shadow cabinet, we are going to be advisors, and we are going to mirror the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta or anybody else who.
So let's say, for the sake of argument, our own Farida Karane, who's now CS Lands designate. You have a CS Lands nominee?
We have I don't know, 5 or people who have, and that's what I'm telling you, we have not completed the interviews. We're actually doing them up to Friday. And we should be able to name them next week.
Do you have a Matiang'i?
We have a Matiang'i, we have Amina, we have everybody.
Come on.
I mean, all the 22 positions, we have more than, and let me tell you, and I challenge you this, and Jeff, let me challenge you.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The day we unveil our shadow cabinet,
Yes.
I will challenge you. Invite me here or our Secretary General or our Chairman to compare our shadow cabinet and Uhuru's shadow cabinet.
Pound for
and
pound.
you will see, my friend.
Pound for pound.
And I promise you, we will present to Kenyans more qualified, more suitable, and more competent professionally people in those dockets.
Give me one name that's applied. Just give me one. Someone we know.
We have not completed the process. You don't have to know them. I'm telling you, these are ordinary Kenyans. I will not have to. Let me tell you. Let me send a message to Musheru that we will give him a shadow cabinet. Very serious guy, PhD holder.
Who can challenge Musheru?
Who will challenge him, not can. Who will challenge Musheru? We will give Ambassador Amina Mohammed in education docket somebody who will challenge her. And I will not give you the names right now because I know you are pushing me to give the name. We have not completed the process, so let me respect
When
that.
are you going to complete?
Hopefully Friday or Saturday. I mean, we are interviewing 130 capable Kenyans who have said, we want to shadow these people.
Are these people with real jobs, or what are they going to do?
Let me tell you, you know the concept of shadow cabinet?
Yes, like in the UK.
Or shadow government.
Yeah, like in the UK.
So let's contextualize it. You know, everything has to be contextualized. The concept of shadow cabinet or shadow government is that principally it's supposed to be people elected in parliament. Basically, it's a parliamentary system.
Correct. But on the opposition.
They're in the opposition.
Yes.
So they mirror the government of the day. But what we decided to do as the opposition in Kenya is that if I ran to provide alternative leadership for this country, I wanted to be president of Kenya. I had a manifesto. I told Kenyans, these are my pillars. This is what I'm going to fix in terms of economy, in terms of agriculture, in terms of water. I am not going to shelve those ideas, Jeff. And that's what we have resolved as a party. We are not shelving them. And by the way, if you guys were fair to Third Way Alliance, you will recall Third Way Alliance Kenya is the only political party that during the presidential debate said, should we not win the presidency, we are not going to fizzle out. We are going to provide we're still going to provide our perspective on what kind of government we should have. And that's exactly what we are going to do with this shadow cabinet. Nobody, and I dare challenge you, not even the people who are trying to fight us politically, have done that in the last 15 years. And I challenge you, the last shadow cabinet we had in this country, I mean, many people today we interviewed remember Bilo Kero, when he was the shadow cabinet for finance.
Yep.
Because that's the time then, and he was providing real competence. And you will see from the team that we will unveil, God willing, either over the weekend or Monday, you will see from that team that team will be men and women of competence, professionals, who will say to a cabinet XYZ that what you are doing is either right or is wrong, we'll do this differently. That I promise you. And that for me is what real opposition politics is all about. So it's not about sitting and lamenting and complaining about power, not being in power and wanting to be involved. We are not interested. We respect that there is a lawfully established government as declared by IEBC, as declared by the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court of this country. We are saying, you know what? We live to fight another day. You know, and 2022 is just around the corner. And watch this space, Jeff.
Okay.
We are the party that Kenya needs.
So mid-next week, sometime next week, there'll be a shadow cabinet announced.
We will publicly unveil them. In fact, even before we unveil them, we will publish them. In fact, I'm surprised you are not even able to pull the names of. It's in all over social media.
Really?
I thought you are techno-savvy.
All over social media? Which social media? I mean,
come on.
Which one, man?
Facebook,
Frederico Kango,
Twitter.
what are you doing, man? Has anybody seen his list?
Jeff,
you can't even mention one name yourself.
I'm not going to mention because I'm challenging you. I mean, you ought to be a very good researcher, Jeff. And I've read your book. Fantastic book.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Very good book.
So
if you have written such a book, Jeff, come on. How can you not find out what Ekuru Aukot has provided for us?
Let's go to some tweets. Monica, have you read his list?
See? Oh, yeah. What is Aisha saying?
Way to go, Ekuru Aukot. The Kenya we want, changing the way we do politics, changing the narrative.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, the idea of a shadow cabinet and what we really want to do, Jeff, is also to say, we are not interested in this conflict of contestation, that it's you versus us. Mukiswea tunaswea. Mukiapisha tunaapisha. Mutadu. You know, we are not interested in that kind of politics. We want to have politics of conversation, politics about issues, which is why, Jeff, I'm even shocked you have not been able to pick our 14-point agenda for this country, because we are talking about water, energy. We're talking about how to end theft of public money. Yeah. We're talking about reducing Parliament to 194.
Okay, let me ask you this as the leader of the opposition.
Thank you very much. At least you recognize that.
Tough
finally,
it was difficult coming out. Anyway, the president's big four plan. What's it called? A four-point plan.
4-point agenda.
Yeah. What do you think? Real quick.
You know,
which by the way, it's part of your 14-point.
Exactly.
In terms of
by the way,
healthcare.
If you look at that, it's amazing that, and you need to be critical about it. Jubilee Manifesto did not really even have those 4 points. Look at third way, and I challenge again the listeners, go to ekurunzai.com right now. Pull down pull up our manifesto, what we call the promise to Kenyans. You will actually see some of the points that President Uhuru Kenyatta is calling his 4-point agenda are actually lifted directly from the third way.
I knew you'd take credit for that. No, I just had a feeling you'd take credit.
No. But let's also,
I just knew you'd take credit. Hold on.
But let's also, okay.
Chibo Mgenge. If Ekuru Aukot is serious about being opposition leader, he should work with the minded opposition legislators like Ken Okoth to bring his agenda on the floor of the House.
Chibo Mgenge is spot on, and I thank him for bringing that up, because you'll be shocked, Jeff. You know, one of the proposals that we have put forth, and one of the amendments we are proposing to our constitution, is to reduce the size of Parliament. You will be shocked how many members of Parliament, current members of Parliament, have actually called me to express support.
To reduce the number of parliamentarians?
Yes.
From 349
to 194 maximum.
What?
We need a working Parliament. We need a serious Parliament. We need people who can sit and reason and think and put Kenya first, not cheap political party, things.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, look, Parliament, people are missing sessions. People go to Parliament, they have never spoken.
Yeah.
They will probably never speak.
Yeah.
We want a Parliament where people can actually dialogue on real issues. And let me give you an example. Jeff, you've lived in America. You know the politics of the Democrats and the Republicans. They can differ vehemently. But when it comes to matters national, healthcare, education,
they speak up.
Stem cell research, for example, they will sit down and say, okay, we think this is good for the country, regardless of our political persuasion. That's where we want to take Kenya. A Parliament that can work and sit together.
194, I'm going to come back to that. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
I'll come back to that.
I'll give you the formula. The formula.
Moraga Daniel, is our court ready to keep government on its toes so that it can deliver?
Absolutely. Watch for the shadow cabinet, which will unveil. Serious men and women, by the way. We will. We are very much ready. We've been ready. In fact, if today President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto resigned, we are ready to step in as the government, because we have everybody who can work.
By the way, you may know this person. Speaking of opposition, getting this news right now, Monica just told me, getting news that Zimbabwe opposition leader, MDC leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, who was very ill.
I hope he's not dying.
Very critical condition. We don't know yet. We're going to keep you updated in the next few minutes. But we're hearing it's
I had the pleasure of meeting in 2007 during the time. And,
in Harare? Or
Harare.
I interviewed him quite a few times. Thank you for that, Monica. Please keep us posted, and we'll let you know as soon as we know. Kepler, please, Jeff, ask Dr. Aukot to define the term opposition.
Opposition is very simple. It's basically alternative to the government of the day. It's not necessarily about conflict. It's not about necessarily the politics of contestation, that if I'm not in power, I try to bring you down. Opposition also means acknowledging the good that the government does, or providing an alternative, saying, okay, we could do this better. That is what opposition, constructive criticism, positive conversation in political agenda.
Okay. Is that official, Monica? Yeah? We're getting of confirmation now that Morgan Tsvangirai has passed away.
Our condolences.
Reports coming in from Zimbabwe, opposition leader for Movement for Democratic Change, MDC, right? He fought Mugabe for many years.
And I think it's unfortunate, and may his soul rest in peace. But I think he must be remembered as having been resilient,
Yeah.
He's gone through a lot. He was tortured,
Yeah.
jailed, tried. At some point, he was even the prime minister of Zimbabwe. And I think we must remember him for his contribution and resilience.
Yeah.
And I hope that the MDC movement will actually continue the fire that Morgan Tsvangirai has started.
Absolutely. In the last few years, he had suffered, I think it was prostate cancer, right?
He did. I mean, he has suffered quite a bit.
Yes.
And I think, like we say, from a legalistic point of view, that, sometimes death is the only general rule without an exception. I mean, so all of us somehow are headed there. And I mean, we wish the family well,
yes,
and the people of Zimbabwe, the opposition in Zimbabwe, and we truly hope that they preserve his memory and what Morgan Tsvangirai stood for.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yeah,
I think Southern Africa is becoming interesting. I see also Zuma is not in very comfortable waters.
I know. Thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Morgan Tsvangirai, for the longest time official opposition leader in Zimbabwe for the Movement for Democratic Change, MDC. And I had the pleasure of interviewing quite a few times in my time, and he really fought Mugabe tooth as much as he could. Never won, but never gave up.
And that's and Jeff, that's the spirit, and that's what we are trying to say at Third Way Alliance. When we started our own political journey, people dismissed us. They said we were jokers. I mean, I even came to your show one time, and you were saying, where you guys are getting to. But you see, look at the resilience of Third Way Alliance. Look at the resilience of somebody like Morgan.
Look who's laughing now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Morgan Tsvangirai is a story to learn from. Is a narrative that many people must learn from. Sometimes you sacrifice, and like we say in Third Way Alliance, our mantra is that we desire change in Kenya. I mean, it can come during our time. We desire that it comes during our time, because a lot of us are living bonus life, Jeff.
Absolutely.
But if we can prepare the ground for our children and their children, I mean, that for me, I'll be smiling in my grave.
Yeah, indeed. On that note, let's take a break right now. Again, if you're just joining us right now, Zimbabwe opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai has died at the age of 65. It's been confirmed. Morgan Tsvangirai, leader of the Movement for Democratic Change, MDC, in Zimbabwe. Long time. He was a thorn in the side of the Mugabe government, but recently, for the last few years, suffered from prostate cancer, was hospitalized severally, if you will, many times in South Africa. And today, Morgan Tsvangirai, dead at the age of 65. Let's take a break. Jeff Kanangi Live. We'll be back in a moment.